Every day, volunteers from United Way agencies throughout the Black Hills area give generously of their time to improve the lives of those around them. Without our volunteers, many important tasks would not be done, and our nonprofits simply could not do everything they do. The rewards are simple: a warm thank you, a hug, a child's laughter, a smile. But when volunteers give of their time to enrich the lives of the neighbors or help other nonprofits accomplish their missions, the impact can go far beyond the moment, creating a ripple effect that multiplies their efforts, touching lives in ways they may never know. John and Mary's lives were forever changed by adoption assistance they received at Catholic Social Services.
I was diagnosed with lupus, and so we knew having biological children would be a risk. And so we definitely wanted more children. We wanted our son Logan to have siblings. And we had thought about adoption, and we knew we'd heard some really good stories about it, and so we started looking into it.
After an informational meeting at Catholic Social Services, John and Mary moved forward with adopting and eventually adopted 3 children.
We just feel really lucky that even though we couldn't have any more children biologically, we were able to adopt these 3 kids who needed a family, a mom and a dad to raise them. It's just a huge blessing.
It's just been a wonderful experience, and we felt a desire to give back, especially when we'd meet with families and they'd say, "How did you afford this?" Mary and I talked. We just thought about setting up a fund that would help with adoption. It is just amazing the families that are trying to adopt on the limited resources, and they want a baby or they want another child.
These are people who would be wonderful parents, but that small obstacle can be the largest obstacle.
Yeah.
So this fund just supplies that extra maybe money that they need just to finalize the adoption and just to give them hope that they can do this.
The fund has helped 15 families realize the dream of adoption.
Donnie was a real fun, outgoing person, loved sports, loved to shoot, trap shooting. He loved football, basketball, loved the outdoors.
When Jerry got the call that Donnie had committed suicide, she rode to town with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend.
When we got there, she jumped out of the car, and I just kind of sat there, and I remember her boyfriend putting his hand on my shoulder and saying, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, this is really happening." The Front Porch Coalition then came over, introduced themselves, and I was still trying to process, this really happened. I did go on the ambulance. They didn't open the body bag or anything, but I just touched him and said my last goodbyes to him.
The Front Porch Coalition Lost Team volunteers were there with Jerry that day and in the coming weeks and months.
When my son passed away, it was very hard for me to come out and tell people that he committed suicide. It was just because some people just don't accept that as something that happens, and it made me kind of feel down and bad about myself that this happened to my own son. But it does happen, and the Front Porch has made me realize that I'm not the only one that goes through this. I've been volunteering for 2 years, and it makes me feel better about the tragedy that I went through. And knowing I'm helping people, it really makes me feel really good.
I was 10 years old when Mom and Dad got divorced. And brothers and sisters were all gone to college, so kind of home by myself. And Mom was I found out later, but she's a pharmaceutical drug addict and an alcoholic at the time. So I was basically home by myself, needed something to do to cause trouble. So I went to the local Y, it wasn't that far from our house, and I kind of harassed people. After several times of doing this, a gentleman came out of the Y and asked if I'd like to come in and shoot some baskets. And I thought, sure, I'll go in and shoot some baskets. I can harass people in there too. So I went in and I started shooting baskets with this gentleman, and it was a great time. And pretty soon it came into 2 times a week and then 3 times a week. But he found out that Mom was having those addictions, and he found out that we were having financial problems. And he stepped in and he got her in some programs for treatment. and he got her in some programs to understand how to manage your money, and he got her in some parenting programs, which was definitely needed at the time. And by the time I was 12, 13 years old, he pretty much got our life back on track. If it wasn't for him and him stepping out and saying, I'm going to help this young man, I don't think I'd be here. Well, I know I wouldn't be here today. Kids like me at the age of 10 usually wind up in prison. And I look back at all the things that he did. They were incredible. And it made me want to be one of those people that did that for others as well, which is why I worked in a YMCA for many years. Sometimes you just don't realize how you impact the lives of people until maybe 30 years later. For an example, I have a letter here in my hand from a young man that worked for me 30 years ago at the YMCA, and he was also in youth programs at the time. And it says, regarding YMCA, I just thought I'd say thank you for all you did for me when I was younger. For a few years now, I have been thinking of finding you and saying thanks. You made my life better when you hired me and taught me to be a hard worker at everything I do. I'm a proud father of 5 children. I've been with the same woman of my life for 15 years now, and I credit a lot of the things I learned from you. You were like a father figure to me when my dad wasn't home because he drove a truck to take care of us 7 kids. Thank you so very much for everything you did for me.
Dave continues to live a life of giving back. He volunteers throughout the Black Hills, teaching through the use of crayons about the impact one person can have in the grand scheme of things, inspiring others to make a difference. John and Mary, Jerry, and Dave were so profoundly impacted by United Way agencies, their employees, and their volunteers that they are giving back to their communities in ways inspired by their own experiences. Crucial ways that continue to expand the influence of the gifts of time and support they received. This year, 51 agencies depend on the United Way support that is made possible only by your contributions. The services provided by these agencies address the most critical issues in the Black Hills area. The volunteers who deliver these services are putting your dollars to work where they matter most, providing vital help to those who need it most. Thousands of people in the Black Hills area live united every day in a variety of ways. Every effort counts. Every smile encourages. Every dollar makes a difference. $1 will provide 10 pounds of food to charitable organizations for needy families. $5 will provide a meal for a senior. $15 a month will provide a child a backpack of food every weekend. $30 will give one child a book a month for a year. United Way of the Black Hills invites you to live united, whether it's by joining hands, opening your heart, lending your muscle, or sharing your resources. Because when you reach out a hand to one, you influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Being a part of the United Way is being a part of a greater organization. We are a part of a greater whole, a greater good. If anyone needs help in our community, they can go United Way, and there's a whole list of nonprofit community organizations that are available to provide services to anyone in our community.
It's a lot like Campfire S'mores. The Boy Scouts would have a lot of trouble being a great youth organization, just as it would be hard for a s'mores to exist without a marshmallow. The United Way helps us serve some 2,300 youth. 30% of those we provide at no cost or at very little cost because of the things that the United Way helps us do.
United Way helps us provide 1,700 weekly backpacks of food to children who are at risk of hunger on the weekends when there is no school lunch program available.
We don't have a professional fundraising staff, and so United Way plays that role for us.
This is a very small organization. It's been difficult in the past to reach more people, thus serve more people in need. And as a United Way agency, it has made us more visible in the community as well as able to serve more people in need.
Teaming up with the United Way gives us a level of credibility. It gives us a level of teamwork. It gives us a level of visibility throughout the whole community. We're part of a whole team working together.
And it takes a great team of people to get things accomplished in our community.
To help individuals and families in our community have a better tomorrow.
Whenever any major disaster happens in the community, the Red Cross is able to respond, in part because of the United Way funding.
The YMCA has been a part of the United Way ever since the very beginning, over 60 years ago. During that whole time, United Way has been a crucial source of funding, a source of support. Simply put, we couldn't do what we do without the United Way.
There is no other organization that knows the heartbeat of the needs of all the different agencies like the United Way does.
Belonging to the United Way family is like belonging to a family of excellence. We can work together and leverage our services and do a lot more for the families that live in our communities.
It's really no exaggeration that at the Club for Boys, if it weren't for the United Way, we'd probably have to close our doors, at least for part of the time. The United Way makes it possible for us and for a lot of agencies in this community to help out and reach out to people that are really in need. And really, when it comes down to it, that's what we should do as a community. The United Way provides an opportunity for all of us to come together and help people that need help.
All of us.
All of us.
All of us. Together.
Can accomplish far more
than any of us alone.
It takes everyone.
It takes everyone.
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 In our community.
Working together.
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 To create
a brighter future.